The sound of a thing is the key to its own dissolution. And it's the sound of a thing which separates it from that which it isn't. And so in traditional cultures, people chanted together to create community because it dissolved boundaries. So sound dissolves boundaries between spirit and matter, and it dissolves boundaries between us and nature and between each other, and allows us to overcome separation. And this is the key in every spiritual tradition, is how do we overcome separation? Because I see you and I like you and I want you, but I can never have enough of you, so I'm attached to you. So I'm in a state of attachment. Or I see you and I don't like you, but I'm lumbered with you, and then I'm angry and I push you away. So, and both these are based on the delusion of separation. And delusion because we really know better. We really know there's no separation, but we act as if there is, which is ignorance, which is ignoring the fact that there is no separation, but acting as if there is. So this separation is the cause of all our woes. And so how do we overcome this separation? How do we get to the core of practice, which is being present? So we name all these things, we know all these names, and then it's separate, more and more is separate from us. And how do we overcome that separation that we have learnt so effectively to create and exacerbate by more and more names? So the thing about chanting is that you can only chant in the present. You can't chant in the past, and you can't chant in the future. And so what happens to us is that we see an object. So I see this glass of water, and I label it water, hopefully, thinking that if it's water, I can drink it. Or I see these candles, these battery candles, and they remind me that when I'm chanting, I always like to have a candle in the middle, and I get these I get these red memorial candles. I'm sure you've seen them. They're sadly in plastic, so I think I better stop. But anyway, they're in plastic, and they're red, and they're Catholic, so they don't exist much in England. So I buy them when I go to South Germany or to Italy or Spain. They're all made in China now. And I bring them, I go to supermarkets and I buy vast quantities of these red candles. And everybody else has cabbages and bananas, and I have red candles. And I go through customs, and they think I've got a lot of dead relatives, which I do, and it comes with all my candles. Anyway, so candles. And then I look at these candles, and I'm reminded that actually I've run out, and I need to go to Germany and get some more. And in fact, they started melting in my cupboard. And so every time I see a candle, battery or otherwise, I'm reminded of the fact that actually I have run out of candles, and therefore I have to go and get some. So so this perceptual moment of candleizing has triggered off regrets of the past and dreads of the future, and exiled me from the present. So I'm in a state of anxiety based on what I didn't do yesterday and have therefore to do tomorrow. And we live our lives in this burdensome state of regrets of the past and dreads of the future. So being in the present is the only reality there is. And so how do we break through this cycle of exile from the present and go home, come home, come home? So as I said, you can only chant in the present. And but you can chant in the present and still worry about when you get your next candles. However, if you chant in the present and instead of worrying about your German supermarket, you actually listen to the sound that you're making while you're making it, then you are creating a circuit of attention, and if you maintain that listening, you have no space left to go German supermarket shopping. So the key when you're chanting is that it's more important to listen to the sound that you're making than to make the sound that you're listening to. So I thought we could try. Shall we try?
Yes.
So we're a wind instrument, which means we're a tube with holes in us through which we blow, and so that's quite important to become aware of it. And so there's just one thing before we start. That the mind is very, very clever and is always kind of one step ahead of our attempts to interfere with it. And so one of the keys to becoming present is to splinter the attention into as many bits as you possibly can and focus on them at the same time until the discursive mind just gives up. So, for example, the Tibetans are very good at this. They have you sit in a particular way by being aware that you're sitting in that way while you're sitting. And then you're breathing at the same time as sitting and being aware of sitting. You're breathing in a particular way while being aware that you're breathing in that particular way while sitting and being aware of sitting. And at the same time, you're visualizing a complex mandala, which is a circle with the squares with 4 directions with sort of triangular bits in the middle. And then there's a deity in the middle, and then there are various things that might have 1,000 arms, and there might be 1,000 objects in the 1,000 arms with different colors depending on the directions that they belong to and the afflictive emotions that they are. And you're sitting, being aware of sitting, and you're breathing and being aware of breathing, and you're visualizing the circle and the squares and the doors and the entrance and the letter and the deity in the middle. But actually, you have to identify with the deity, which means you have to actually switch around because it's like wearing a T-shirt, so you're seeing the deity as you. And then on the center of the deity is a letter, and the letter is a sonorous one, so you have to chant the letter, and while chanting the letter, listen to yourself chanting while sitting, being aware of sitting, breathing, being aware of breathing, visualizing until the mind freaks out. So that's the plot. Okay. Right, so now we're going to splinter the attention. So let's start off by putting our hands on our knees. And putting our attention in the contact that our hands have with our knees. And feeling the warmth of the contact. And allow that warmth of that contact to expand and expand so that it actually includes us, contains us in its warmth and expanse. And so, keeping that going, I'd like us to maintain that awareness of the contact between our hands and our knees and the warmth of that contact, and I'm going to add various other attentions which I'd like us to hold simultaneously. So while maintaining that the contact and the warmth of the contact between your hands and your knees, begin now to breathe through your ears to contain the soundness around you without identifying any particular part of it. To integrate with the soundness around you, containing it in the, enveloping it in the hearing attention. Maintaining the warmth of the contact, breathing through the ears, maintaining those two simultaneously, and we'll add a third one, which is now just becoming aware of the breath as it rises and falls, maintaining the listening awareness and the warmth of the contact, and become aware of the breathing. And maintain presence with the breath as it comes and goes, with a silky quality as it has a silky presence. In the throat. So that's 3 simultaneous awarenesses. So now with that out-breath and in-breath, I'd like us to focus on the out-breath. Let the in-breath take care of itself, and we're still listening to the soundness around without identifying any part of it. We're still present with the warmth of the contact between our hands and our knees. And now I'd like us to extend the out-breath and allow the in-breath to take care of itself. So when you get to the place where you would normally breathe in, continue to breathe out further by a gentle pressure on the abdominal muscles. And then releasing them to allow the air to fill you up again. So maintaining all these awareness at the same time, I'd like us now to gradually translate our breath into sound, but through the ears, so that we maintain presence with the emerging sound, so it's contained within the vessel of our hearing continuously. And when we remember that we've forgotten, tricky because we have forgotten, but when we remember that we've forgotten to listen, remember again to remember to listen and come back, so that there is no separation between the sound that we're making and the hearing that we are integrating with the sound that we're making. So we'll tune together for some time in this way, and then eventually, very gradually, allow the sound to become quieter again. And as the sound becomes quieter, we're increasing the listening to the sound becoming quieter until we finally find ourselves listening to the absence of sound. And when we find ourselves listening to the absence of sound, we introduce presence into the listening to the absence of sound, and in that we remain. So let's tune together in that way together. So, how do you feel when we stop chanting?